the left and Boy stayed onside. Here's Mounier. 2-0 Huddersfield Town on the opening day of the Premier League. De Plata's forward. De Plata's got the better. Yeah! And Laurent De Plata scores! Laurent De Plata scores!
It's in the box. It's in there! It's in there! It's there! It's on the run! It's in there! The King of Huddersfield!
Hello and welcome to The Drive-In, the preview show that holds your hand on the way to the Accu Stadium and tells you that everything is going to be all right. So joining me, your host Matt Shaw, is my partner in grime. It's Ian Kilroy. You okay, pal?
I'm all right. I think I've got my internet sorted for this one as well as the Patreon episode. Subscribers will have realised the other day. Bit iffy in the rain. However, yesterday must have been the warmest bonfire night in history. It was ridiculous. And today's still pretty warm, Matt. So I am ready to go. And again, to find my way into some sort of positivity throughout the episode so I can head down on Saturday excited to see Town take away with 3 points.
Okay, so this week Huddersfield Town take on Plymouth at home, which many have labelled El Gashico on account of Huddersfield Town winning just twice in their last 10 games, and Plymouth not winning in their last 5. But don't ye worry, Pilgrims, Charity FC is never far away. Killer, how have you found Plymouth this season? Because I think a few of us tipped them to do pretty well this year, and as it transpires, they're not doing very well at all.
They're awful. They are absolutely awful. This is too. I had it down as El Sacco, Matt, for the two coaches, but I think Gashico is probably a more apt way to go. And it's strange, isn't it? Right? Because are we 9th still as of today in the league, and Plymouth find themselves 22nd? Yet we're only 3 points off 20th. It's like we're ridiculous. The league is so tight of teams doing really poorly once you get outside those playoff positions, and both of us find themselves in those positions. Plymouth are absolutely shocking, no matter how you look at it. Going into the season, obviously they lost. Well, they had a change of manager, having had somebody do a U-turn, and they ended up at Schalke.
Muslic, yeah, a really good manager. Yeah, he's doing well.
Tom cleverly came in. Obviously, he did okay on paper at Watford last season, but it didn't quite work out there. So I think that initially Plymouth fans were quite happy with cleverly going there and had quite high expectations, as we did dropping down from the Championship. But as we learned, the bottom half of the Championship, the bottom teams at the bottom half of the Championship don't necessarily find it that easy coming into League One, do they, anymore? It's the gap isn't that much. At the top end of League One, those teams are actually pretty handy and are tough to suddenly get your shit back together and be able to go on a promotion push after getting relegated. And Plymouth are doing even worse than anyone could have ever expected. They play a weird kind of 3-4-2-1, 3-5-2, 3-4-1-2, which tells you everything about Cleverly struggling to find a kind of system that works for the few players he has left. His talks like Lee Grant does, to be honest, Mark, when you listen to him. He's pretty woke in the words that he uses to express how he feels about the team. He's complaining of injuries, same kind of stuff as what we get from Lee Grant. But like you say, their forms, there's got as many L's in it recently as ours has. Looking at the way they play, Matt, the last few games have been awful. They haven't scored. I don't think in the last 3 games they've lost all of them. 2-0, which was Exeter, Wickham and Mansfield away, and Mansfield absolutely battered them. I went back through that game today, and the Mansfield that they faced was very different to the one we faced on Tuesday night, Matt, which I was thinking about. It was a bit like Christmas Day, all right, Tuesday for me, in that everyone had a great time. Everyone loved it. It was kind of a breakaway from reality. However bad Christmas Eve is, everyone in a family gets back together, gets back on board on Tuesday night, enjoys the moment, but then Boxing Day comes and it's back to reality. That's what Town's going to face this Saturday after an easier walkout against Mansfield. But no, Plymouth, Matt, they are shocking. Defensively, horrendous. I've broke them down as much as I could today, and no matter how they try and attack, which is very pedestrian like we've seen at times with Town going forward, defensively they are slow. They like to play a high line, which is really strange, but then as soon as they sort of face any type of pressure, their centre-backs sprint back to the goal line very narrow, and there's so much space behind the wing-backs on either side, Matt. This is, on paper for me, the worst team coming to the stadium so far this season. Honestly, they are, looking at them over the last few games, in a turmoil that even we haven't seen recently. They are a very, very poor outfit at the moment, considering the form and the way they're trying to play. And the atmosphere, Matt, between the fans and the manager isn't much better either. It's a perfect game for Town to face this Saturday.
You mentioned Christmas, and one thing synonymous with Christmas, Killer, is charity. and I can't help shift that at the minute with what Huddersfield Town like to do with other teams that are struggling. However, the struggles of Plymouth are real, and I invited Aaron from the Argyle Life, the Green and White podcast, to pretty much lie down on the couch and just unload and tell me all his woes. And we had a little chat, and I'll roll this in now. It's 15 minutes long, so you can go make a brew while you listen, and we'll be back in 15 minutes. Hi, Aaron. Welcome back to the podcast. I'd say it's nice to speak to you again, but I think both of us are completely fed up with football at the moment, aren't we? Usually football fans get together and they have a bit of a pissing contest, but I feel like this will be more akin to sort of a post-coital dribble when we get going. So in the style of Harry Enfield, tell us why Yao are considerably shitter than May.
Hello, mate. Thanks for having me back on. I used to enjoy doing these previews, but like you said, it's a bit miserable at the moment. It's a real shame. Like we've gone down the pan a bit. We were put on a pedestal as one of the best clubs in the EFL, one that, you know, people look at and think, you know, they're really well run. They use their limited resources really well, and we've sort of just dismantled it all. Really, we've changed everything. We've changed head coach twice this year. We've changed the whole squad. We've changed the whole backroom. We've changed the whole coaching staff. We've changed even the goalkeeping coach up and left us to go and join Sheffield Wednesday to not get paid. That's how bad it is. Yeah, it's not going well. I think it's 4 games on the bounce now that we haven't scored. We lost the last 3 2-0, including a horrendous showing in the local derby, which, you know, I pretend not to care about until it happens, and then I care a lot about it, and then we play like that and disgrace ourselves on national TV, on Sky Sports, and we're absolutely disgusting at the moment. And it's one of those where, like, if a loss on Sunday would guarantee that something would happen and something would change, then I'd take it. But even then, I'm not that pessimistic. I still feel like we might get some joy on Saturday, but I think that's just my overall optimism in life overalling. But yeah, the watching Plymouth Argyle Football Club is not high on my agenda anymore, unfortunately, which is a real shame when you host a weekly podcast, sometimes twice weekly or thrice weekly podcast about Plymouth Argyle Football Club. But it's all just really, really depressing, isn't it? League One is very depressing, especially when you're not very good in League One, as you know. Depressing.
So a lot of people, and me included, felt like Plymouth could be well set to bounce back in the summer. So you always appeared to be quite well run, recruit pretty well, apart from the Foster and the Mad Rooney experiment. But Muslich teased you a little bit, I think, in the summer, but things seem to have gone sour under Cleverly. Could he potentially face the chop if things go awry for you on Saturday?
Yeah, I've already mentioned the relentless changes that we've made. So the problem is we're not really a sacking club, or so we say we're not a sacking club. But the last three of the last 6 managers / head coaches we've actually fired. So, you know, and the other 3 have gone on to arguably bigger and better things. You know, Ryan Lowe left us for Preston, and you can have your thoughts on that. But, you know, it was the right thing actually for him and for the club. Stephen Schumacher came in, went and got a huge pay rise at Stoke City. And then Miron Muslich, yeah, I suppose he did shit on us a little bit, but if you're manager of League One, Plymouth Argyle have just been relegated from the Championship, who in their right mind is going to say no to the Schalke job, you know, at the Veltins Arena, which is sold out every week, a club that, you know, if you can bring them back to their former glories, or even half of their former glories, you'll be considered an absolute legend. And you know, you can basically line up any job in Europe should he do well there. And currently he is doing well there because he's a very good manager. His style of football might not have been what we wanted to watch week in and week out, but you don't really care when you're winning games of football. And unfortunately, had we still had him in League One, I feel like we'd be unbeaten. But such is life. I think he saw some of the issues with the club, and towards the end of his tenure was very vocal about some of the issues and things that needed to be changed, but the club decided to back him and started the recruitment process for everything he wanted and basically gave him everything. And then he went and left us for Schalke. So, but like I said, who's not going to take that role? I certainly would, and I'm an Argyle fan. So, it is what it is. We moved on. We've got Tom Cleverley. Is he the right man? I'm not so sure. And it's not through lack of experience or lack of tools that the board have recently come out and backed him and given him the dreaded vote of confidence. But they're not calling it a vote of confidence, but it is a vote of confidence. That was 2 games ago, and we've since been dreadful in the 2 following games against Mansfield and Wickham in the FA Cup. But there's just no style of play. There's no identity. I don't know what we're doing. There's no consistent formation. Like the last 4 games, we played 4 different formations. Some of that is down to personnel, sure, having players unavailable. I don't want to come here and cry wolf and say we've got X players unavailable, because I know that you guys have an injury crisis, an actual injury crisis of your own. It's just our squad's too small. Tom Cleverley said in the summer, he kept saying it, I want a small squad. He got a small squad, and now he's moaning the squad's too small. But like I said, there's no style, there's no identity. I don't know what we're trying to do. I don't know what we're trying to do tactically. It's similar to some of Watford fans gave us, a pre-warning that this might happen, but he was doing okay there. And actually, I think quite a lot of the Watford fans were upset that he was fine. But I don't know if that was more that he was like I don't want to say club legend, but, like a cult hero at Vicarage Road, rather than the football they were seeing. I think it was any other manager, they would be fine with him going. They're used to hiring and firing there. So, yeah, I really wanted to go well. He's a very nice man. He's, even though he always looks miserable, he seems happy enough and seems like he wants to be here, which when you compare it to previous managers we've had about wanting to be in the West Country, that's a huge positive. But unfortunately, it's just not working. So will he be fired? I don't think so. I think the board will back him. They've come out and backed him publicly. I think they'll give him far too long. We gave Foster far too long. We gave Wayne Rooney far, far, far too long. But at least with the Rooney appointment, we had the publicity, we had the PR, we had the voices, we had people talking about Plymouth Argyle Football Club, which, granted, they were laughing at us, but at least we were getting something in return. This is just dreadful. So should he go? Most probably. Will he go? No.
Right, mate. Is the season salvageable for Plymouth? What do you need to do to get things going in the right direction and going up the table again?
That's a great question. See, going back to my previous answer, it would be so easy to just say change of manager, change of head coach, but everything is like, I don't want to say rotten. It's just not. It's not the Argyle of old, and by Argyle of old I mean literally 2 seasons ago, in which we romped this division with 101 points and beat the best team League One has ever seen in inverted air quotes Ipswich Town to the title, and we also beat a Sheffield Wednesday side who got 98 points and finished 3rd. So it's not like we were rubbish, and we had a great team, we had a great squad. Can we turn it around this season? I can't see it. I think we'll stay up, but I think that will be due to a change in manager. That will be because of the January transfer window. We currently don't even have a head of recruitment. We don't have a director of football. We currently have a head of football operations, in which is your former man, David Fox, former loan manager and former Argyle player, who again is a lovely man, but just basically every role we employ at this football club is just inexperienced at the moment, which is a real shame. We have a new CEO who has never worked in football before, but is he works at Trethewin Dairy. He's very good at selling milk. And he's a lovely bloke, but he's just inexperienced. So can we turn it around? Yes. But that'll be getting in some experience. And we've just signed Joe Rawls, who has 400 appearances at Cardiff City, and every Cardiff City fan seems a bit disappointed they ever let him go, and seems like we've acquired some experience there, but his legs have gone. So, we finally have some experience in midfield. But midfield is the one place that I think we're okay for bodies. So it's an interesting signing.
Right, mate, check your memory banks for this one. So have you got any specific Huddersfield Town versus Plymouth memories that really stand out for you?
Yeah, there's a couple of memories. They're both quite recent because up until a few years ago, we hadn't actually played you for quite a while, if I remember rightly. So it's the FA Cup game up at your place in which we won 3-2. I know that Romilly Critchlow, who would soon become an Argyle player, scored your opening goal. I remember winning that relatively late on, 3-2 win. I think it was goals from Ryan Hardy, Panuccio Kamara, and Joe Edwards set us on our way. I think, was that the year we ended up playing Chelsea? I think it was. Yes, so that set us up on an FA Cup journey in which we went to play Chelsea and took the lead at Stamford Bridge. So I suppose that is a Huddersfield memory. And then obviously the other one is the opening day up against Neil Warnock's Huddersfield Town in the 23-24 season. When we come up, we just kick-started our championship campaign of a win against you at home. And I think Ballymumba's solo brilliance that day is what sticks in my mind.
Okay, finally, how do you think it'll go on Saturday? How do you expect to line up, and how do you think the game itself will go, and what's your score prediction at the end?
Again, I'm really interested to see how we line up ourselves because I'm really not sure. I honestly couldn't tell you what Cleverley is thinking. I think we'll keep it relatively similar to what we played up at Mansfield, opposed to the FA Cup game where we made a few changes, but he seems to just randomly make 4 or 5 changes a week based on, I don't know, whether he just picks his team out of a hat or something. I don't know. In goal, I assume it will be Connor Hazard, but 4 games in the bounce, or 3 games on the bounce, losing 2-0. He might revert back to Luca Ashby-Hammond, who, as a trialist, whilst we were playing in Austria, which unfortunately we went all the way to watch him do this, he scored a very comical own goal. Go and give that a look if you can find that on the internet. And then it will most probably be a back 5 with Brendan Weirdo, Matthias Ross, who is a Danish centre-back, who on his day is a very good centre-back. Brendan Galloway on the left-hand side, most probably, who was a former Premier League player, and again, on his day, it was far too good for Plymouth Argyle Football Club. Most probably the Hungarian Cornel Such on the right-hand side. On the left, most probably Ballymumba at left wing back, and hopefully a game against you guys will reignite his drive, his energy. He's just lost everything this season. It almost feels like he doesn't want to be here, which I wouldn't blame him after being part of some brilliant Argyle squads down the years and been subject to interest from the likes of Leeds, etc. In the summer window. Didn't seem to get his move in the end. It always seemed like paper talk rather than anything actually official. Midfield is a toss-up. Most probably Malachi Boateng will play in there with... We have a young lad on loan from Middlesbrough, 19-year-old Lord McCabe, who is, without doubt, our best player. He is very good technically. He runs his socks off, positionally excellent, knows how to read a game at 19 years old, but Tom Cleverley doesn't seem to want to play him recently. I don't know if anything's happened or he's taken a knock or something. I don't know. He seems to just be getting minutes late on in games now, but I would start him. And then a front three of, I say, our only bright spot this season in Lawrence Alai up top, and then behind him, most probably Owen Orseni and Owen Dale, but nobody with any real pedigree. Lawrence Alai is an excellent player, and I can't wait. The good thing is that he's already played for Port Vale this season, so we won't sell him in January, thank God, because if we did, we would definitely be down, because he is the only one that looks capable of putting the ball in the back of the net. And I think he's up there as one of the league's top goal scorers this season, despite the fact us being second bottom of the league or whatever we are. So, yeah, he's one to watch out for, but I I still have no real hope. But saying that, I'm going to go for a 2-2 draw this Saturday. I think both teams are not in great places. I think both teams' managers could be under pressure. I think both teams are suffering from squad issues. Yours more injuries, ours more just being a dreadful squad. It'd be interesting to see. I'm really looking forward, in a way, to see if we can learn lessons and if we can take this game by the scruff of the neck and if we can turn another gear. But I just can't see it, and I think it's a slow but steady decline for Cleverley as he sees himself out of a job. But I don't really want that. I want him to be a success. I want him to do well, but I just can't see it. Cheers, guys.
Poor Aaron Killer. He sounds just like we do. Do you know what's wonderful about football is you put the TV on and it's Gary Neville and Carragher, who I can't stand, just yapping on about the top six, how amazing everything is. And then you put the football on during the week and it's Champions League. People were saying they were going to watch Liverpool and Madrid and not Town and Mansfield. We watch Town and Mansfield because we're stalwarts. But other people that support Huddersfield were saying they're going to watch the other games. You know, everyone watches that and everyone thinks, oh, isn't football wonderful? No. Football is shit and it will beat you down and it will keep kicking you when you're on the floor. And it's just nice to know that someone else is feeling those boots in the back of the head just like we are at the moment. And so
Nothing cheers me up like it, Matt. Honestly, whenever we hear somebody else, like you say, going through the troubles that we're going through, it really makes me feel better. A problem shared is a problem halved when it comes to how awful football teams can make you feel. So I really just want to say thank you. I really appreciate that, and that solidarity is what I think we're here for. This is what I get back from doing the podcast, Matt. Feeling like one with the football fandom, also going through the shitter.
Yeah, so he's a nice lad as well, is Aaron. So it's a shame he has to go through that. He's a good guy. He's one of the good lads. But I hope he's miserable come Sunday as well, or Saturday or Sunday. In fact, both days. So yeah. So thanks to Aaron for coming back on. You may have recognised him from past. He always pops his hand up if we need somebody to talk about Plymouth. And I think we can hear the school bell, Mr. Kilroy, because I believe that it's time for another lesson.
Oh, geography is all that we ever were. Oh, geography is all that we ever were.
Okay, so welcome back to the tactics board, or what was formerly known as the tactics board is now the school green board, if you like, where Mr. Grant is going to give us a geography lesson. And it was a fine geography lesson on Tuesday, Killer. We actually really enjoyed the way that Town adapted and showed a different shape on and off the ball. And we were quite... so if you're a Patreon member, you will have heard us talking on the extra time episodes that we do during midweek. If you're not a Patreon member, you can't listen to it, but you can if you sign up to the free version. And then they do unlock after a couple of weeks. So you can listen to it after a little while, as long as you're a Patreon member, free or paid. Anyway, enough grifting. So moving on to the tactics board here. So I've got Huddersfield in blue. I've got Plymouth in a kind of a black colour because, again, there's no green on the coaching manual's little tactics board. So we'll start with Huddersfield Town because it feels a bit like a Lou Bega song at the minute where he's just naming people and they're all injured. So a little bit of Joe Lowe, a little bit of Alfie May, they're all crocked. I mean, so we'll go through Town position by position, and the only position where there's no injuries, Killer, is in goal. Owen Goodman came in against Mansfield, did okay, did fairly well. I don't think there was anything amazing whereby he will keep his shirt, if I'm honest. I think on the goal he possibly pushed it into a dangerous area rather than pushing it wide, which is a little bugbear of mine as a goalkeeping coach and former amateur drop-in specialist who always used to get lobbed. So in goal, I think Lee Nichols is back in goal for the game on Saturday. Right back, we've heard Lyndon Gooch might be fit enough to come back in or come back towards the side at some point. I don't think he's needed to be risked at right back. Lasse Sorensen is in fairly decent form at the minute. I know Town aren't playing great, but I don't think Sorensen is by far one of the worst performers at the minute. I think he's doing fine. The problem when you play right back is even if you have a decent game and everyone else doesn't, nothing really looks great for you anyway. So I think Sorensen will keep that shirt. The defense is a worry killer because I'm not entirely sure who they're going to pick, because what we're led to believe is Joe Lowe has picked up an injury where he's going to be out for a couple of weeks. Jack Watmore's injured. Murray Wallace is injured. Josh Feeney will start, I imagine, as the right centre-back. Does he go Radinho Balca after the performance against Mansfield? Is he fit enough? Will he break down? Or does he play Sean Rowan at left centre-back? That's the question, isn't it? So it's going to be Feeney's a lock-in there at right centre-back. The left centre-back is either going to be Rowan or Balca, and I have a feeling he might start Balca and try get away with it, but I can't see Balca lasting 90 minutes, especially at the pace of a League One level. I know Plymouth possibly might not be full of beans on Saturday if things continue the way they go, but Balca feels a bit of a risk, but Sean Rowan, I guess, can step in if needed. So I guess they'll go Balca. And then the question killer is, do you keep Sean Rowan at left back or do you go Ruben Ruskin? Because the way Town's defence operated on Tuesday against Mansfield was quite interesting, because Town played what was essentially a 4-4-2 when you line up at kickoff. In possession, especially in our sort of defensive third, it was pretty much a 4-3-3. And then when we were in the attacking third, the Sorensen would push really high and forward, like they have been doing all season, and then the three would wrap around in the three defenders left would wrap around into a back three. So then it was very much like a 3-3-4 or a 3-4-3, whichever way you want to dress it up. So it's kind of a fluid and interchangeable system killer. But if you put Ruben Ruskin back in, and apparently Ruben Ruskin has been carrying an injury as well, so if you put him back in, then he doesn't really wrap around to create that four. And I guess what you have then is you have a more attacking left back who could leave the door open, but against wing backs, I'm not sure what it is that you want. I would potentially go with Rowan myself. I don't know where you'd stand on that one.
I think I'm opposite with you on most of this, to be honest, Matt. But just to go back to the keeper, I think Nichols for me has individually been the better performer of the two keepers, but I honestly believe we look a better team when Goodman plays in goal. And I speak about this quite a lot in centre backs and anyone in a defensive position. Sometimes you can't see why teams play better with certain individuals in, and I do honestly feel Goodman is that guy. So for me, Matt, I'd actually have Goodman back in, but I don't want to take anything away from Lee Nichols' performances, because individually he's been great. He's been great. It's probably too far. He's been good enough to keep the shirt on that. But I think we're looking for a spark. We're looking for kind of a bit of a restart. I thought Goodman was good the other night. For me, Matt, on the fullbacks, with the way Plymouth work, I'd go with two fast fullbacks. So that for me would be Ruskin and Sorensen, just because they are so weak. Because yes, Matt, they play three central defenders, but they play so narrow, all of them between the half spaces for Andy Cale. Love that, which means very centrally in the box. No matter what side the ball's going down, they just revert to being really, really narrow. And there's a lot of space behind the wing backs because of that. It's nearly like they play with 10 men because they have an extra cover at centre back. Now, if they don't play this way on Saturday, I'll eat my own hat here and say I've got it wrong myself. But looking at them over the last three games, that's exactly what they've done in every single game. So for that reason alone, I would go with Ruskin and Sorensen. And now if we were playing anybody else in the division, I'm with you. I think Rowan would have been the better shout to give us that flexibility over the back line. But Matt, I have to say, I thought Feeney the other night, again, against limited opposition because of it being a reserve Mansfield side, looked as good as he has done all season because he had Balca next to him. I think Balca took a lot of pressure off him. He was organising the line. He was leading from the back. And when he got the ball in the spaces in front of him, he made the run. It wasn't all Feeney to try and do that, which when Joe Lowe plays is often Feeney's main job to do that. And I don't think Feeney's natural at it as much as Radinho Balca is. We know Balca will break down. I do think you've only got 3 or 4 games ever in a row with Balca before something happens, unfortunately. And that's where it's been like since he's been at Town. But I thought we were so much better and looked so much more solid with him in that back line and just breaking the lines, Matt. Just being able to play through the middle as a centre back.
Wasn't it? That one of the
it was
runs.
incredible. It was absolutely incredible to see. And that, to me, modern football requires a centre-back like that if you're a possession-based team. If you don't have a direct way of attacking like Town don't, it comes down to, it's Bielsa style, isn't it? It's a centre-back that can overload in midfield and he becomes the extra man. And now Bolker is still, for my money, even after all the new centre-backs we brought in this year, the best one we have at it. So if it was a question where fitness is taken out of it, Bolker would be starting every week for me, even with his limited physicality when it comes to aerial balls. We know he's not absolutely fantastic at that kind of stuff, Matt. But in a game like this where Plymouth are out of form and we're going to get the ball and be able to break quickly, I think as a centre-back goes, Bolker's perfect for that role, Matt. So for me, it'd be Fina and Bolker at centre-back. But who knows with Lee Grant? I'm not entirely sure what he'll go with.
No, we're aligned in terms of the two centre-backs. I would probably go Rowan because it fits the system. I know Lee Grant's very systems-based, isn't he? And so the players, they like to know where people are going to be. And I just think that they will know. And the way they push the left-hand side further up, Cameron Ashley made such a difference against Mansfield because he went wide and he stayed wide and he provided that width, which Town haven't had since Ruskin moved back to left-back. But Ruskin wasn't great providing the width anyway as a winger. So I thought Ashley was really key in that. So the midfield is going to be interesting because there's going to be a temptation for Lee Grant to throw Lyndon Gooch back in there, and Lyndon Gooch hasn't looked great there. So I think the shoe-in really is Ryan Ledson. He'll come back into that midfield role, and he looked okay in that system on Tuesday, but again, limited opposition. And does Dan Vost keep his shirt, Killer? Because only him or Gooch could really potentially play that unless he puts Ben Wiles in the middle, but I don't think he's going to do that either. Ben Wiles plays on the right and it kind of tucks in a little bit, and honestly, I don't like Ben Wiles playing that role. It takes quite a lot away from his skill set, which is quite limited at times, but I don't think you get the best out of Ben Wiles doing that, but you're sacrificing him a little bit for the system in this one. He'll tuck in, and then Sorensen will go on the outside all the time, and then Ben Wiles will just drop back and wait for the ball back from Sorensen, and then just play that across midfield. So I think Ledson, Wiles will continue on that right, but for me, I think Vost probably keeps his shirt despite the temptation for Lyndon Gooch, Killer.
So you wouldn't have Harness in there?
Yes, I've forgotten about Harness, haven't I? Already, we're recording this at half 10, and I'm knackered. Yes, sorry, I would have Harness in there for 100%. He was phenomenally good, wasn't he, against Mansfield? And I know we talk about the game on Tuesday, and we know Mansfield rested a load of players, but what was really good with Marcus Harness was Town have been trying to get him to do this higher up the pitch, play those little reverse balls that we haven't seen since Carol Lighting was here, for example. He's really good at playing those and getting Town on the front foot by playing that. I mean, he could play that right side, what Ben Wiles does, if Vost stays there, but again, I don't really want that. I think what you're going to get is Wiles there, Ledson, and then Harness as more of a playmaker, if you like, and he's going to be doing what they wanted him to do. From 15, 20 yard deeper starting position. Dan Vost could still be mentioned in there. Gooch could potentially come in, and like I say, Harness could play on that right, and they may have Harness doing that from the right, like he has been doing this season. But the major change really is there's no sort of like left inverted number 10, and we've gone with two strikers. And for me, Dion Charles has to keep his place after the performance, and again, caveat it with limited opposition, but he's got off the mark now, and now's the chance for Dion Charles to, he's got the monkey off his back, so to speak. Now can he go down and lay down a marker and start and go on a bit of a run? Strikers like him do that, don't they? They score in bunches, if you like, dip in and out of form. Up front with him, Joe Taylor didn't really do enough against Mansfield for me. Bojan Radulovic would keep his place for me, and I think Bojan just offers a partner for Charles, which we haven't seen before, in that you can play the ball into Bojan, who will come short for it. He will lay it off. He will not beat anyone for pace, but the thing is with Boyan, he can play with his back to goal, whereas none of the others can. So Boyan will come and lay it off, and then on the left over here, would you keep Cameron Ashier in? I think he probably will.
I would. I think I thought he was fantastic the other day, and the way he's so direct when he gets the ball and causes problems. I think he has to play. He's one of the few guys we have that can really drag us up the field, pretty much on his own from a long ball. I think he's
Or do you
great.
play Ruskin there and put Rowan at left back?
Or Miller. I guess you could have Miller
Or
back
Miller.
there as well.
Although Miller doesn't look.
But no, I think Ashier
Yeah.
deserves it. I think when you've brought a youngster in, like we did with Ashier for Tuesday night, and he puts in a performance like that, what more could he have done to have earned the shirt for a proper game? You know what I mean by proper game, a league game. So I think he has to start. But I'm with you pretty much all the way around that team. The only thing I'm a little bit a few questions on is I'm really looking forward to seeing Harness in that defensive midfield role in again. A proper
He's
league.
going to play him on the right now. We've done this, haven't we?
If he does, do you know
And
what?
Gooch is gonna be in
I'll
midfield.
write
You
the
know what's
banners
happening.
myself if he plays him on the right and we don't manage to win this one. Because Harness the other day was so fantastic. I really do feel like that could be the spark that gets our midfield working for the rest of the season if he can do it in a League One game properly against decent opposition. Because I thought it was revelation, as I mentioned on Tuesday night in Cozzy's language. But no, one thing I am interested in seeing, Matt, is I do think Bojan Radulovic will get the start because he is the informed guy, which is something I never thought I'd say, but here I am saying it. The only question mark I have over that is I think Dion Charles looked so good on Tuesday night because Joe Taylor's also fast. So he also got a bit of it was watched because of his pace, whereas Radulovic will be looked at in a different way and played against in a different way. So then I think Charles will be up against a little bit more pace than he was on Tuesday night. And he was the second striker, wasn't he, on Tuesday night, even though he's the fast guy. And I actually thought that partnership was quite good, even though Taylor didn't do too much himself. Again, you can't underestimate the runs or lack of runs in some people's cases and how it opens the game up for everybody else, because Charles looked something totally different on Tuesday night. And I think whatever that was and however that was made, I think it is a lot on Harness and Ashier playing. And Wiles being able to tuck in a little bit from right hand side, although he wasn't great. But just that midfield as it was worked pretty well. And I think that enabled the strikers for more or less the first time this year since Exeter to get chances. You've got to stick with it as much as you can, I think, because we've changed it a lot after it's worked previously and then it hasn't worked again. I'd like something pretty similar to what we had on Tuesday night. But it's strange, isn't it, Matt? Because there's a lot of people injured for this game, but we've still got a few selection issues to go through. And that does tell you that the last time out wasn't too bad. And that's a tiny positive we can take.
Yeah, so just to wrap that team up, I think Nichols in goal. You think Goodman? I don't really think Goodman has any effect on Feeney, I'll be honest. And the defence playing well, I think that's mostly down to Jack Watmore, who we had when he was around.
Probably.
Because against Barnsley, we were a complete shambles and Goodman was, obviously did what he did that day. The back four, we think it'll be Sorensen right back, Feeney, Balker, Ruskin or Rowan. We're a little bit torn, not feeling strong either way, I guess, on that one. In midfield, Harness, Ryan Ledson, and then Ben Wiles tucked in on the right-hand side. And then far left, Cam Ashier with Mikael Miller to come on at some point, or Ruskin. And then up front, Bojan Radulovic to hold the ball up and bring others in. And Dion Charles to hopefully continue his little streak. In terms of Plymouth, as Ara mentioned, they chop and change their team so often. It's going to be very difficult to sort of predict exactly who will be who where. But they do tend to play either a 3-5-2 or a 3-4-2-1 system. With it being away, I think it'll be the 3-4-2-1. The goalie's been there a little while, Connor Hazard. He's got quite a few appearances now for Plymouth. So we expect will start in the sticks. They've got 3 centre-backs across the back line, obviously. Cornell Sucks is one player that they've brought in, and I think that's probably a good analogy for their season so far. With him in the middle is Matthias Ross, who is a Danish centre-back that they've brought in this summer. And then the left-sided centre-back recently was Alexander Mitchell, who's on loan from Charlton. Weirdo could play there. He could also play midfield, but he's not had the best of times really for Plymouth, so he's probably going to find himself on the bench. He was linked with Huddersfield not too long ago as well. The wing back, so on the right hand side is potentially Owen Dale, on loan from Oxford. He had a good little spell in this division before with Blackpool, which made Oxford sort of sign him when the season they got promoted, and he's sort of bounced back to this division on loan a couple of times. So he's more of an attacking wing back rather than a defensive one. So, like you say, when the space can open up behind, he's not the most natural defender. On the left hand side is Matthew Sorinola, another player that was linked to us once upon a time. He tends to play left wing back. People might remember him from Swansea a couple of seasons ago, and I think that was where he was linked with us as well. So he is a free transfer signing for Plymouth, and he's been there since January. Midfield's quite interesting. Caleb Roberts has been playing most of this season in midfield. He's the one who's going to get around the pitch for them. And then next to him is quite an interesting player who started the season quite well. So Bradley Ibrahim was on loan at Crawley last season from Hertha Berlin, which some things that you thought you'd never say. And he started the season quite well, I think, this year. I remember he scored against Stockport in a good run quite early on, and then he got a couple of goals against Luton. And then he's kind of tapered off a little bit. There's been one good performance in amongst, I think, but he's due a performance, I guess you could say, Killer. And then the two behind the striker are dangerous players. Barley Mumba, people will remember from when Neil Warnock was the manager of Huddersfield. We went down to Plymouth in the Championship, and Barley Mumba kind of ripped us apart that day, didn't he? So he will either start as a wing-back or as an attacking midfielder, but it's most likely attacking midfielder. The other attacking midfielder is very well known to Huddersfield fans as well, because it's Jamie Patterson. He is now 33 years of age. He feels like he's older than 33, doesn't he, Jamie Patterson? He still looks like he's about 15. But he was on loan at Huddersfield in 2015 to 2016 when David Wagner was there. And I think people will remember that we wanted to sign him, and we were trying to get in touch with Nottingham Forest. But I think they were having some sort of admin, or had some issues at the time. And I remember David Wagner saying we wanted to sign Jamie Patterson, but there was nobody at Nottingham Forest to pick up the phone to answer when we wanted him. So we ended up signing Casey Palmer and then latterly Izzy Brown. So everything worked out fairly well in the end for us. But Jamie Patterson is the one who will play behind the striker, which they've brought in from Port Vale, and that's Lauren Talai, who has a bit of an interesting sort of youth career as well. He's spent most of it with Brighton and Hove Albion there under 18s and 21s. I think he might have even been at Man United at one point. He left Brighton he had a loan spell at Cambridge and then Salford and Dundee, and then he signed for Aldershot on a free transfer, and he was doing really well at Aldershot in non-league before Port Vale signed him. And he was the guy that spearheaded Darren Moore's promotion campaign last year, and he came up with Port Vale, and Plymouth have taken the plunge on him, and he's got 7 goals this season. So he's a threat. He's a good player. Is Lauren Talai. So he's certainly one that Town will have to keep an eye on. So that's how we expect them to line up. I think the last thing to do, Killer, is to basically just give a prediction on this one. Shall I go first this time? I usually ask you, do I?
Yeah, you go first, Mark. Go on, you go first on this.
I think our first goal is important as always, but I think Town will win this game 2-1. I think we will have a spell of around 15-20 minutes where we look quite good, and I think we'll score in that period, and it'll be enough. And I think we'll probably go 2-0 up at some point. Talai will pull one back for Plymouth, and then we'll be clinging on towards the end, and Plymouth will be disappointed that they didn't get a point. So I think it's going to be one of those wins where it's not particularly impressive, and it doesn't really make anyone overly happy, but it could be a building block, to sort of like push back on. And I think Dion Charles is going to score, and I think it'll be from a through ball from Marcus Harness, and he will get behind that back three and then finish 1-on-1. And the other goal, I think if the back three push on, then it opens up space for someone like Ben Wiles to score from the edge of the box. So I'm going to go with Charles and Wiles, and then Talai to pull one back for Plymouth. So I'm going to go 2-1 and Town to be clinging on towards the end.
Well, it's a game, Matt, where both managers, to me, are pretty similar in that neither of them really make tactical changes in game. They both talk, having watched Cleverley's pre-match press conference today about the group, changing the narrative. He also said he dedicated his life to changing the narrative at Plymouth Argyle. He spoke about how they are struggling for confidence, struggling for injuries, and struggling for form, which were three parts of one sentence that I absolutely loved, Matt. I'm with you. I think it's going to be an actually comfortable home win, this one. I've got 3-1 Town on this, Matt, and a 3-0 in front before Plymouth get a late goal to come back into it somewhat with a nervy ending for Town fans as per usual in this situation. Matt, Plymouth, honestly, are so poor at the moment, and Cleverley has, to my eyes, lost his players in that they don't particularly look to be trying as hard as they should be. Stuff like when the ball bounces in the box, not everybody's charging it down. Again, that's something that we've seen at times over the last couple of seasons, but this is pretty early for that to happen at Plymouth. And when they have a manager leave who they didn't want to leave in the summer in the way that he did, I think that stuff normally comes back to bite you in October, November, December, and there's normally a bit of a managerial merry-go-round. And I think this is the weekend, unfortunately, for Plymouth where it'll all come to a head because, to be honest, Matt, if it doesn't for them, I think the question is, would it for us if we didn't get a win this weekend? I think this is critically important for Lee Grant's tenure at Huddersfield Town, as he spoke about when Kevin Nagle was in last week, that there was 3 games in 7 days, and we've put out a first team in pretty much all those games. We set out to win all 3 of them, and okay, it's not going to be a perfect all 3, even if we do win on Saturday. Tuesday was a lot stronger than we expected, and I expect it to follow suit, Matt. I'm pretty excited on this new little system we've tried to go with, and I'm with you. Dion Charles will score again. Yeah, I think Charles will score. I think Bojan Radulovic will score, Matt, and I'll go with a goal for Rads as well. Bolka, as normally in these kind of games, we have a centre back that scrambles one in from a set piece, and with the way Plymouth are struggling to defend at the moment, I think that's how it will go, Matt. So we've not done bad recently, have we, on predictions? We're pretty good over the last 4 or 5 games. So to go for a 2-1 and 3-1 between us, we could look really stupid come Sunday, the pair of us, when Plymouth benefit from Charity FC. Because, Matt, as I'm aware, Plymouth Argyle have a 100% record in Huddersfield in games in November. So you also have to consider that.
That's why you should sign up for the Patreon for little stats like that, killer. So join us for the review show this Sunday. Will it be froth or will it be champagne? Who knows? But hopefully Town will be going back towards the right end of the table.
Huddersfield, the best team in the land, the biggest thing in football since the Football League began. We'll follow them to hell and back, we'll answer every call. We think they are the greatest team that's ever kicked a ball. About a mile from Huddersfield, down on the A62, there is a place we call Leeds Road I'd like to show to you. It's there that all our heroes play, there's none can match their skill. And we all know no matter what, there's none that ever will. Yeah, Huddersfield, the best team in the land, the biggest thing in football since the Football League began. We'll follow them to hell and back, we'll answer every call. We think they are the greatest team that's ever kicked a ball. We know that there are many teams with followers and fans who said that we had our day, but they don't understand that we've just been regaining strength and now our rest is done. We'll show them how the game is played back in Division 1. Yeah, rule the Terriers, the cowshed boys are we. We shall cheer our team to victory. Yeah, Huddersfield, the best team in the land, the biggest thing in football since the Football League began. We'll follow them to hell and back, we'll answer every call. We think they are the greatest team that's ever field and watch the Terriers play. You come and shout and chant and cheer, you won't regret the day. You came with us to watch the greatest team that's ever played. The greatest game of football since the first football was made. Yeah, Huddersfield, the best team in the land. The biggest thing in football since the Football League began. We'll follow them to hell and back, we'll answer every call. We think they are the greatest team that's ever kicked a ball.